What I'll quickly do is take you through the strategy at Vendetta and also what we're going to be doing this year to execute on that strategy. I think, Eric, you're spot on when you talk about where we are in the zinc cycle. We could see this coming a long time ago. We were looking at zinc assets in 2013, and I think we, in our particular shop, looked at close to 50 and did significant due diligence on 15 and chose the PEGMONT project located in Queensland, Australia for several reasons, which I'll articulate in just a second. As far as the management and board, I've got 20 years in the mining industry, largely on the finance and marketing side. My previous company to starting Vendetta was called Underworld Resources, which we sold to Kinross for $139 million in 2010. Peter Valgaris, who's here today and will be at the booth after the talk if anyone would like to discuss the technical aspects of the project. I'll just focus on the highlights. As a former Ivanhoe mining engineer, worked 7 years with Robert Friedland, 5 in Mongolia doing the underground development, and it was Peter that put the PEGMONT project together. It was his concept, his idea, and also what you see when we're drilling is led by Peter and his team. Prior to that, he'd worked for Newmont and Placer in Australia. David Baker also is a former Ivanhoe. He was the treasurer there. He raised $5 billion for Robert Friedland, both debt and equity. Doug Flegg is the former head of mining banking for Bank of Montreal. Him and his team have done, or did, over 200 financings, and I think they raised in total about $25 billion. Doug Ramshaw is currently a CEO of TSX-listed mining company, as well as a former analyst and London School of Mines. Okay. Share structure, we just did a financing. We raised $4.2 million. We did the financing at 20 cents with a half warrant at 30 cents. We're fully financed. That money is all going in the ground. It's going into the program. Drills are on the way to the project. We'll be drilling in 2 weeks. So on a fully diluted basis, there's 166 million shares outstanding. We have roughly 4.5 million of in-the-money warrants that we expect to get exercised over the next 12 months. Management ownership is 8%. RCF out of Denver, Perth, the private equity firm, now holds 18%, and Solitario Mining and Resource has 8% of the company. So PEGMONT, there's 4 key advantages for us. The initial one, we had a resource to start with. There's 5.2 million tons, grading approximately 9% lead zinc. It's in essence like a 100-meter dash and you're starting on the 20. It gives you a big leg up. And in a zinc cycle, I think it's imperative that you get across the finish line as soon as you can. And by getting across the finish line, I would define it as either being able to fully finance your project through to production or enter into M&A activity and have a producer take you out. And I think that's what you were alluding to, Eric, when you talked about we might not be around in 12 months. The other thing that we always look at is permitting. Australia, Queensland, it's one of the best mining jurisdictions on the planet. It's very manageable. I make this comment all the time. If a mining company says permitting is easy, it's never easy, but here it's manageable. And we expect, to give you an example, Dugald River, which is just to the north of us, it's a $1.5 billion operation, was permitted in 2 years fully, and that's tailings and road. So it's certainly a manageable proposition. The key to PEGMONT, in my mind, is the infrastructure. For base metals and zinc in particular, I think it helps to have infrastructure. It's sort of akin to buying a house, and it comes with furniture, a theater, and 2 cars in the garage. It gives you a big leg up, and in our case, what it allowed us to do, it allowed us to model using 90-cent zinc and 95-cent lead. So that's what we predicate all our work on, and so we can afford to have zinc pull back. I think, like Eric does, it has quite a ways to go, but at the end of the day, you have to watch what's the sustaining price of zinc going to be at. I think it's going to be probably where it is currently today, but we're basing it on this project we think will be viable at 90-cent zinc, so we can afford some fluctuations in the zinc price. And the deposit was open in all directions, so we could add to that resource. So there's just shows you our infrastructure. Let me see if I can. This has where's the pointer, Eric? I can't get it to work. The key thing is, if you can see on the map, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, we're 25 kilometers one way from the Cannington mine. Cannington is thinking of expanding their production. They're on a declining grade curve. One source of feed could be PEGMONT. We could provide that for them. The other interesting aspect is 25 kilometers in the other direction is a company called Chinova. They have a copper operation that will be out of feed in September, and they're looking for truckable sources of concentrate, and we would also fit that need. So looking at those two operations certainly would help PEGMONT as we move it forward if one of those chose to use the ore from our deposit. Once again, infrastructure, we're right in the heart of roads. We've got rail to the coast if we need be. At Townsville, there's a deep sea port there. We've got smelters close by. So we've got all the infrastructure. It's a mature infrastructure district. It would be the akin to being in Battle Mountain in Nevada or Timmins in Ontario, for instance. And it's hard to find projects that are in the heart of infrastructure that still have upside associated with them. I call these key milestones really that they were hurdles. When we picked, and this is what used to keep me up at night, we needed the price of lead and zinc to cooperate. I think it has. It's heading in the right direction. Once again, we can make do if zinc falls back to 90 cents, which I don't think it will. We had to demonstrate that we can produce a marketable concentrate. We put out our metallurgy a month ago, and we have, looks like, a saleable lead concentrate and a zinc concentrate, and that's just our first pass. We expect it to get better as we do further work on it, but my guess is it would be complementary to the Cannington concentrate, and it certainly would be for the mill that's going out of production because they don't have any feed. The other thing I think we needed to do, and we've successfully done that, we demonstrated that the zinc grades increase as we've gone what we call down dip. Our zinc grades now to the point where it matches the lead, and we expect at the end of the day that's where it's going to remain. We also have several open pit targets that we've defined. The goal there being we would like to demonstrate to a potential producer or a banker that we can provide 2 years payback through our open pit component, 2 times acquisition costs and 2 times cap costs from the open pit portion alone. And this year, I think we'll get across that line. The 43-101, we hope to have it out prior to PDAC. We did a financing right in the middle, so we couldn't commission it until that's completed. Now that it's over, expect to see our updated 43-101 within 30 days. What we're going to add is about 13,500 meters. That resource number, and I'll let the market react to it when it comes out, will largely tell you how close we are to what we think will be economic. We'll know how much drilling is required, and it's development drilling, meaning we're drilling in between previous drill holes. We're not stepping out. We think we know where the ore is. What we don't know is, in order to get to our goal of 15 million tons, is it a $5 million problem or a $3 million issue? So we'll know that in about a month's time. So over the next 100 days, drilling starts, as I said, next week. We'll have the resource out in 30 days. We're drilling an area close to surface that we call the Z-fold. The key thing with the Z-fold is we've got, I think we're going to have a high success rate there based on our previous drilling, but for the first time, we'll be able to put out drill holes, sort of 3 or 4 drill holes in 2-week spacings for about 2 or 3 months. So I think that could be key going forward. You alluded to news coming out in the summer. We'll have significant news flow. Last fall, we made a new discovery. It was actually on a copper zone 2 kilometers from the ore body. It was sort of like the analogy I use. We were looking for lead zinc. It's like when Jed missed the possum and hit the oil. So we're going to follow up with that. We've got a coincident mag anomaly over it, and we just did an EM survey, and we also have an anomaly there as well. So we've got coincident anomalies and a drill hole into it. We hit 3 meters of 3% copper and half a gram of gold, hosted within 10 meters of alteration. Peter at the booth, which is just through the doors there to the left, can tell you the significance of that hole. It looks very similar to a deposit 28 kilometers away that Peter was involved in the discovery there. So we want to get some more drilling into it and see what happens, but it could be very significant. We're also going to test our regional targets. We have scoped out between 12 and 15 million tons at the PEGMONT ore body itself. The global resource we would like to demonstrate could be, up to 20, maybe 30 million, and to do that, we will need to test some of our regional targets, which we'll also be doing this year. We're also undertaking our environmental baseline studies. The good thing, what I like about Vendetta, if you look at our chart, it moves based on news. And there will be a lot of news coming out over the next 100 days. So if we can deliver on drill results and increased 43-101, I think we should see it reflected in the share price. But if you have any questions or need to see cross-sections, once again, we'll be at the booth just through the doors to the left. Thank you very much.